Hi dear students. So in the previous class we have learnt about extraction of metals. So in today's class let's learn a corrosion, okay? And this is the last part of this lesson. Along with that we'll discuss some exercise question answers also. Let's start. Okay, here are some question answers. So let me ask these question answers. Silver articles become black after exposure to air. So, silver vessels, you might have seen silver vessels after many days, what happens? They become black. Do you know the reason why it happens? Because when silver reacts with sulfur in the air, it forms a coating of silver sulfide. That black color substance is nothing but a silver sulfide. Why? Because they reacts with sulfur present in air to form a silver sulfide. The next one, copper articles becomes green after exposure to air. So copper vessels also becomes green in color after some days. Why? Because they react with the moist carbon dioxide in the air and slowly loses its shiny brown surface and it forms a green copper carbonate. So that compound is that new substance is nothing but copper carbonate and it becomes green. The next one, iron particles acquires a coating of a brown flaky substances. So iron also they become brown, right, after some day because they react with the moist air and it forms a iron oxide. So what are all these says? This is nothing but corrosion. Now can you define what is corrosion? So when a metal is attacked by substances around it such as moisture, air, then it is said to be corrode and this process is called a corrosion. Okay, now there is one more activity to explain a corrosion process. Take three test tubes and place clean iron nails in each of them. Label these test tubes A, B, C. Okay, there are three test tubes and dip a new iron nail to all these test tubes. Then pour some water in test tube A. Okay, just add water to test tube A. Then pour boiled distilled water in test tube B and add about 1 ml of oil and cork it. Okay, for test tube B, we have to add oil and distilled water. Then the oil will float on water and it prevent the air from dissolving in the water. Okay, then put some anhydrous calcium chloride in test tube C and cork it. Leave these test tubes for a few days and then absorb. So what happens after few days? Yes, here that the iron nail which is in a test tube A changes into brown in color and in the test tube B and C, the iron nails in B and C, it remains the same. Why? Because here along with water the air is also present inside the test tube. The reaction takes place and this iron nail that turns into iron oxide and due to this the color changes into brown, whereas in test tube B the oil it prevents the reaction of air to distilled water and in the test tube C this anhydrous calcium chloride it is nothing but drying agent. Okay, it dries the air. Now how do we prevent the corrosion? Yes, there are different methods to prevent the corrosion of metals. First one is by painting. Okay, by applying paint, then by applying oil also we can prevent the corrosion. Then greasing and galvanizing, and the last one is anodizing or making alloys. So what do you mean by this galvanization? See in this picture you can see the two articles. The first one is a rusted one and the second is a galvanized article. So what is this? It is a method of protecting steel and iron from rusting by coating them with the thin layer of zinc. Okay, so galvanization is nothing but covering, that coating the metal with the zinc. Okay, now one more is that alloy, making alloy. So what is this? You might have seen steel. Okay, compare steel and iron, any iron article, but steel remains shining, right? But iron gradually it changes into brown in color. See, steel is nothing but it is a alloy, clear? But iron is a metal. So alloy means the compound which is prepared by mixing metals or non-metals, combination of metals or non-metals. So steel is a alloy, means mixture of either metal or non-metal, that I'll explain later. Okay, now let's discuss Q question answers. Metallic oxides of zinc, magnesium and copper were heated with the following metals. In which case will you find displacement reaction taking place? So mainly when talk about displacement reaction, high reactive metals displaces low reactive metals. Just remember that. Okay. First one, zinc oxide and zinc. There is no reaction takes place. Zinc oxide with the magnesium. Magnesium displaces zinc. Why? Because magnesium is stronger than zinc, and zinc oxide and copper, no, because copper is less reactive than zinc. Okay, the next one, magnesium oxide and zinc, no reaction because zinc is weak, okay, compared to magnesium, and magnesium oxide and magnesium also no reaction. Magnesium oxide and copper also no reaction. Similarly, copper oxide and zinc, yes, zinc displaces copper oxide, and then magnesium and copper oxide, yes, copper displaces, and copper oxide and copper no reaction. So give reason why copper is used to make hot water tanks and not steel. Okay, so steel is alloy of iron. Copper does not react with cold water, hot water or steam. However, iron reacts with the steam. If the hot water tanks are made of steel, then iron would react vigorously with the steam formed from hot water. That's why copper is used to make hot water tanks and not steel. Why? Because hot water tanks, that steam will produce, right? The steam easily reacts with iron and it corrodes, because steel consists iron also. For that purpose, copper is used. Next one, food cans are coated with the tin and not with the zinc. You might have seen that the tin, right? Why food cans are made with the tin? Because zinc is more reactive than tin. Which of the following method is suitable for preventing an iron frying pan from rusting? Applying grease, applying paint, applying coating of zinc, and all of the above. So the answer is applying a coating of zinc. In the electrolytic refining of metal M, what would you take as the anode, the cathode and the electrolyte? So this we discussed in the previous class. Electrolysis. So here metal M, it is given. You have to find what is made as anode and cathode and electrolyte. So anode is always impure metal of M. For example, if you consider sodium metal, anode is made what? Impure sodium. Cathode, the thin strip of pure sodium. Okay. Then electrolyte, it is a solution of salt of the metal M. That is, sodium chloride is taken as an electrolyte. Cleared? The next one, Pratyush took sulfur powder on a spatula and heated it. He collected the gas evolved by inverting a test tube over it, as shown in the figure. So what will be the action of gas on dry litmus paper? There will be no action on dry litmus paper, because sulfur it is a powder, right? So there is no reaction takes place. The next one is what? Moist litmus paper. So since the gas is sulfur dioxide, it turns moist blue litmus paper to red because sulfur dioxide reacts with moisture to form sulfurous acid. So what happens? Sulfur dioxide, when you treat it with the moist litmus paper, that is moist blue litmus paper, then blue changes into red. And so do you know this indicates what? Acidic property, right? So sulfurous acid, it is a acid, it turns into acid. Sulfur is what? It is a non-metal. So non-metallic oxides shows acidic property, remember that. But metallic oxide shows basic property. Cleared? The next one, balanced chemical equation, that is sulfur, yes, plus heating in the sense presence of oxygen, O2 gives SO2, and further this sulfur dioxide reacts with moist litmus paper, right, that is H2O, it forms H2SO3. This is sulfurous acid. H2SO4 is a sulfuric acid. This product is what? Sulfurous acid. Next one, what type of oxides are formed when non-metal combine with oxygen? Just now we discussed. When non-metals are combined with oxygen, then neutral or acidic oxides are formed. Remember, example for acidic oxides are NO2, SO2, and examples for neutral oxides are NO and carbon monoxide. Okay, next one. Carbonate and sulfide ores are usually converted into oxides during the process of extraction. So before they converted what oxides, carbonate and sulfide ores are usually converted into oxides during the process of extraction. Before the purification, they must changes converted into oxide form. It's oxide form. Why? Because carbonate and sulfide ores are usually converted into oxides during the process of extraction, since metals can be easily extracted from their oxides rather than from their carbonate or sulfides. Okay. Next, difference between metals and non-metals on the basis of their chemical properties. Okay. Metals are electropositive and non-metals are electronegative. So these all are what? Based on the chemical properties you have to distinguish them. So metals are electropositive means, now if you consider sodium chloride, sodium donates one electron and it becomes electropositive, whereas chlorine accepts one electron and it becomes electronegative. That is the first point. Oxides of metals are basic in nature and oxides of non-metals are acidic in nature. Then metals displaces hydrogen from dilute acid, whereas they can't replace hydrogen from a dilute acid. Fourth point, metals form chlorides which are electrovalent or ionic compounds. Non-metals form chlorides which are covalent compounds. This we'll discuss in the upcoming lessons. They react with water to form oxides and hydroxide. And some metals reacts with cold water also, and some with the hot water, and some with the steam, but they do not react with the water at all. Okay, this is the difference between metal and non-metal based on their chemical properties. Now it's time to give a homework. Find the answer and copy it to your notes. Which metals do not corrode easily? First question. Then the second one, what are alloys? And state 2 ways to prevent the rusting of iron. Find answers and write it in your notes and learn all these question answers. Thank you.